you touched upon a very important issue, which is Aleister Crowley's illustrations. So what was Crowley doing and where did he get from? And I think the question I might want to ask, but I won't be able to answer is, do demons disguise themselves as whatever our pop culture is really
zeitgeist of the times? Yeah.
Right, what we are depicting, what we are sort of interested in at any given moment as to what we expect our
objectively
the planet to be, or what we're afraid of.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because I could tell you, all I can tell you is a story. Okay, a friend of mine said when he was a child, he would have these terrifying experiences of creatures, of beings that would surround his bed, and they looked like small-bodied, large-head, large-eyed beings. And that when his family found out about this, after a few prayer sessions in the name of Jesus, it never happened again.
Yeah.
So, I mean, okay, it's just an anecdote. But so, would demons want to take on these shapes that we are currently identifying as, because obviously there's a lot of different looks that have been described of aliens, all kinds, from Nordics to reptilians to praying mantis to you name it.
Right.
But for some reason, the gray aliens are really the most commonly
depicted.
That's
true. Yeah.
And so is there some interaction there? And I don't really know. I can't really answer. I can tell you that people like Chris White and Joe Jordan are very much behind the idea of dealing with alien abduction phenomena and or sleep paralysis by praying in the name of Jesus against it.
And I personally know a few people who aren't Christians, but are generally good people, and they were faced with some sort of experience like that, and they found they were paralyzed, they couldn't escape from it, and they called out to Jesus as sort of, I mean, I'm sure the Lord doesn't like to be called out just in times of extremely negative circumstances, but guardian angels, and I do believe in those, and God will come sometimes. I don't know if it's 100%. I've also heard people say that they did call out for Jesus and nobody was there, but more often than not, even from old atheists and stuff like that, and people who still deny it as sort of a dream they had, they call out to Christ, and there is a power in that name. Now, me and John and a few other people have been trying to deconstruct and get out of out of the way this cult called the Sphere Being Alliance, which is posturing themselves through a person called Corey Goode and a new alien species called the Blue Avians, and this is connected to David Wilcock and all them, and I, that basically was put in people's minds through very sophisticated psychotronic marketing by Gaia TV, and that blue being just happened to be, that right sort of color that would correspond to the indigo child, and also, it was a bird-like being. It was just nonsense, but it did resonate with, like, sort of, that movie Avatar, where there are these blue beings and all different mythologies later on. It was, it was not a real thing, but people believe it to be real. Now, one of the things is that this guy, Corey Goode, was studying to be a minister at one point. He left this school and then, came out as a, he says, he's a soldier in the secret space program, and he's constantly going on missions and seeing, being taken up in the middle of the night in his bedroom and brought to have debriefings with a lieutenant colonel, and then they, he talks. He's of all the billions of people in the world, he's the one chosen empath to be the ambassador to the universe for these blue avians that are, in these spheres the size of Jupiter all around the galaxy, and even though we can't see them, and only he is a connection to them. The point of that is that this is kind of interesting. He said that the blue avians, and this is one blue avian that he interacts with, I think it's called Ra Tier L or something like that, right? He said that the blue avians recognize the power of the name Jesus. Now, I think that's very dangerous. I think he knows exactly what he's doing there. He's trying to bring in what you called the Jesus consciousness, or what was the name of the celestial Christ, or right. So with the New Age Christ combined with this alien phenomenon, and so whereas before, like you said, it's a very important point that all the one thing that I found, I was very discouraged by this, because I respected a lot of some of these authors' work, but then they would just out of nowhere just go on and bash Christians in the Bible and Jesus, and unnecessarily go out of their way to bash those things, and at the same time these people were talking about UFOs, but so this is very dangerous for a new emerging spear being cult, I would call it. They practice sort of cult gang stalking techniques. They threatened me. They trolled John Rasmus a lot. They threatened some other people and all this, so anyway, that's just to let everybody know, that hasn't gone away. And these are real issues that that people are really dealing with. So, what do you think about that? What do you think about somebody saying that these blue avian species? No, they actually recognize the power of Jesus, but yet what's going to happen is that this is what they say, that Corey Good says was disclosed to him, was that the Nordics and the blue avians are in an alliance. And they're going to give a proclamation at St. Peter's Basilica, over the, where the Pope is, and they're going to sit beside the Pope, and they're going to declare the new religion, So I think that it all ties in somehow, right? It's very interesting.
Right, because the first question would be, which Jesus?
Right, exactly.
You can't just use the name and then presuppose people know
what you're talking about. Yeah.
And inevitably, this is going to be a being named Jesus that is nothing like the real historical Jesus, of course.
Right.
I did want to touch upon one more thing.
Sure.
Because we're talking about, and I'm glad you brought this up, because it again shows the intersection between aliens and occult, which in this sense would be more like New Age beliefs or what have you. And so that brings me around to, I mentioned how the gray aliens are actually, for whatever reason, the most popularly known. And who would you think is the poster boy for interacting with gray aliens?
Gotta be Whitley Strieber, maybe?
Gotta be Whitley Strieber.
Okay.
But the fact is, Whitley Strieber has never claimed that he's in contact with aliens.
Oh, that's right. Yes, this is a good point.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he calls them visitors.
Visitors, yes. Yep.
And he doesn't just do that to be different. He is not claiming that these are aliens from another planet, or what have you. He's taking a different view of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just like Sean Stone, to me, Whitley Strieber is absolutely fascinating because there's so many threads that are tied together in one person.
Yeah.
Right? So, first of all, his initial reaction to the visitors was that they were quote-unquote demons. Okay, that's Strieber.
Wow.
That's him saying that. That was his initial reaction.
Right.
And then where did they first manifest to him? It was in his New York house, in his meditation room.
Ah, I thought so. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So there you go. He was involved in occult practices. You can put a nice face on, a smiley face on it if you want, and say that it was New Age or it was Buddhist or what have you. But the fact is that he is sitting there, engaged in meditation, where basically you have a neon sign on your head saying, "Come on in, we're open."
Yeah, I agree.
And so this is where these beings first manifest to him.
Interesting.
And he experiences such terrifying things that he ends up initially thinking that they're demons. Now, there's a whole other side to this story, because as I would listen to Strieber, occasionally he would make reference to his family or him personally having ties and friends that were military and the CIA.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So I just put that in the back of my head as, okay, keep tabs on this. And then one day, I couldn't believe it, but he comes right out in one of his talks and starts talking about how he literally, truly, honestly believes that he was a victim of MK Ultra.
Really? You said that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Straight up.
Wow.
I'll send you that link as well because it's worth listening to.
Yeah, I believe.
And so he's talking about how, for instance, when he was a child, they were doing Skinner box therapy in him. Okay.
Yeah. Right. I know all about those.
And then he's talking about how, through these CIA and military connections, that's truly and honestly what he believes had happened to him. Okay, so now, logically, that would tell him that he is not actually having any experiences with any visitors, but that it's all mental manipulation, but he will not go there. He claims that, yes, he was a victim of MK Ultra, but that he is still having real experiences with the beings, even if they're from another dimension. And why is that? Well, the reason he gives is that, because on days that I had the experiences with the visitors, people told me that I seemed like I was unnerved, or I was just, he was not himself, essentially. And so that tells him he had real experiences. Of course, I'm thinking, okay, if you were undergoing MK Ultra experiments by the CIA and or the military, that alone would be quite unnerving.
Yeah.
I think that's plenty right there.
Yeah, right.
But see, again, this is the difficulty of unraveling any of this stuff, because he was involved in meditation, and that's where they first manifested to him, but he's also involved with the CIA and military. And so how do you untangle this web?
It's amazing, yeah.
And all I can really do is, look, this is what he said.
Yeah.
And it takes us in as many directions as it takes us.
And
that's the difficulty, is this crazy interaction between aliens, the occult, and the government.
Yeah. I mean, it's there. And one of the interesting things about Strieber I found was when he was having Peter Levenda on to talk about his Sinister Forces trilogy, and Levenda's not a stupid guy, but he had traced Whitley Strieber connections to the occult and to these sort of my lab, as you say, MK Ultra sort of, because he was in a town that was on a base, and his father was connected to the military and all this stuff. But anyway, so he says that he was, for a time, he was in school in London, and he was doing a film project for the Process Church of Final Judgment, and he didn't know. He claims to not know who they were at the time. Really, he said, "Oh, there was a very attractive woman." And Peter Levenda's like, well, that was Mary de Grimston and Robert de Grimston, and they said, yeah, and then they chased us out of there, and he said that he had to run away from them on rooftops in London. Okay, they had a very nice place, I guess, in, I don't know if it was Piccadilly or one of the nice spots, in London there, and they had a nice spot. But what they were doing, according to Strieber, was they would say, "Oh, we're going to go to the Yucatan Peninsula on a cruise ship on this yacht, and we're going to have some kind of ritual there." And what they would do is just kill those people, and then they would come back, and they would do that over and over and over again, according to Strieber. And it was the Process Church of Final Judgment, I guess, is no joke, you know. So, but the point is that he claims that, I mean, he said that he was involved with them. And, you know, I found it interesting because when I first heard about Strieber, I think it was on, like, Unsolved Mysteries when I was a kid. Or, it's, you know, or it was like, he was like, like you said, that book Communion. And I think there was a movie, too, based on him. Was very interesting to me. It was very, and then the Travis Walton experience, the Hollywood images of these, you know, the torture devices of these aliens. I mean, it was really scary. So my friend actually wrote to Whitley Strieber when he was 12 years old and got a note back. And I'm trying to remember what it said, but it was basically, yes, like, because, you know, we wanted to know if that was real. And he said yes, that it was real, and stuff like that. So he's always been, like you said, the back of my back burner. And then, you know, he has his own show, and you're thinking, okay, how much can you talk about the one experience you had? You know, and it turns out, well, he's got a repository of knowledge on Arcanum, on the esoteric, on the occult, on Lovecraft, on you name it, Process Church. I mean, and he is a Mayan calendar stuff, astrology, tarot cards, you name it. I mean, he's very well versed on this. He likes to come off. I think the image of him was sort of a straight guy, sort of a dad that, you know, and very responsible person, clear, and, you know, wore a tie and clean cut guy, but you know, so you could trust him. And he really acted really upset, you know, when he was recounting his memories. But after a while, after hearing these anecdotes about, I was at this military base, and more about his story, it just becomes a tangled web of intersecting things, like you say, between the government, the black operations, you know, and the psychotronics that they have to make people think that they're looking at and interacting with, you know, some sort of entities. I mean, we see already.
In fact,
yeah.
Let me just throw something in because this is the perfect time.
Yes.
Someone did a documentary. You can watch it on YouTube about a supposed alien that was kept in a military base for many years, and there's video footage of the alien. Wouldn't you know it, unfortunately, he dies. Essentially, it dies right on screen.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, now, they interviewed Whitley Strieber, and they said he would not appear on camera.
Really?
Because he was so upset by it.
Oh, right? Interesting.
Now, when you look at the video of that alien,
fake.
Is obviously a puppet.
Yeah.
It is obviously a puppet.
I know which one you're talking about, yeah.
Right.
Bob Dean cried over it and stuff, yeah.
Right. So what Strieber says is that if that is not actually a video of an alien or a visitor, then whoever made the video knows how they move.
Ooh, interesting. Why would he say,
And so...
like a puppet?
Well, that's what that tells me.
Right.
Is that he thinks that's the genuine article. Because when he was being manipulated into believing he's having these experiences with visitors, they were just moving marionettes around.
Wow, okay.
Around, getting him to believe it was real. And so now he sees what's obvious to us is just a puppet.
Right.
And he says, oh, wow, someone knows what these visitors really, how they move.
Interesting. Wow.
I'm saying that, and it's heartbreaking to me, honestly. It's really painful for me to think that this poor man was just so manipulated, and like I said, maybe by the government, maybe by demons, maybe by both, but my goodness, it's such a mess to have this happening in somebody's life where he he's just having trouble engaging reality.
Yeah, he's
Blank.
never at conferences, I hear. And if he is, he's always in the background, and he's very quiet and shy. Yeah.
So another person who is very wrapped up in Whitley Strieber, I mean, the guy just seems to really adore him, is the Rice University professor Jeffrey Kripal.
Okay.
He's a Rice University professor, and he is possessed.
Oh, now, is this the guy that wrote the recent book with him? I think the most latest book where it's Strieber writes a little bit, and then I think this professor writes. I forget the name of it, but it's Go on. I'm sorry. It's a collaborator.
No worries.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
The supernatural.
Thank you. Yes, interesting. Yeah.
Okay. Now, when I say that Jeffrey Kripal is possessed, I'm actually quoting him. That is his...
Really?
He states that he is possessed. That's his word, not mine.
Wow.
Okay? He tells a story about how he went to India and he got involved in some of the celebrations over there. And next thing you know, he believes he was possessed by Kali.
I've heard that exact same story. Yeah. Yep.
And then, now Kripal wrote a really, really fascinating, worth-reading book, which is Mutants and Mystics.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And that book is about how, essentially, almost every single golden era author of fantasy literature and sci-fi was either into the occult or had mental problems or was on drugs or all three.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, it is a very, very eye-opening book, Mutants and Mystics.
All right, wow.
And so then, Jeffrey Kripal, in an interview, he starts talking about, it's a comic book artist who is very well known.
Jack, what's his name? Jack Kirby? Grant Morrison?
Modern day guy.
Alan
Grant
Moore.
Morrison.
Okay. Grant Morrison. Okay.
So, right. And Jeffrey Kripal tells a story about Morrison, which is essentially the same as his. Morrison goes to India. He gets involved in tantric rituals, and he ends up possessed.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Interesting. Well, I've been a big fan of the work of Grant Morrison. I don't believe in the philosophy but I think it's deeply flawed, but I think he's a genius when it comes to storytelling and things like this.
Sure.
So I've read a lot of his books, and he published a book on superheroes.
Oh.
Yep. And so he recounts that story, and he talks about how he was out of his body and taken aboard a craft and out in Sirius, and how these entities interacted with him. And I'll tell you what, I've seen. This was years ago. I was talking to a Greek Orthodox priest, Eastern Orthodox priest, Greek, a really nice guy, and I was kind of like wondering what it was all about. So he told me to read this book, and it was called "The Gurus, the Young Man, and Elder Paisos." And Elder Paisos he's basically a saint in the Eastern Orthodox Church right now, and stuff like that. And this is about this guy who goes off. He's in Freemasonry, and he goes over to India, and during one of these Kali rituals, he gets possessed. He says that what happened was everybody was in line, and there was a possessed priestess or priest there. And what they did was they took all these sacrificed animals and whatever and made it into an ash and put it in like a mortar and pedestal, and then everybody that came through the line as they were dancing, as you say, and doing these kind of hedonistic celebrations, he would put the ash right on their forehead. And at that moment, the guy said, like, he felt possessed, and he just ran, 5 miles through houses, and he felt like he had no control over it, and then it scared him so much that he ended up going finally to, the Greek coast, Mount Hermon, and or was it Mount Hermon? I think so, where Elder Paisos was, and he led a monastic life after that. Yeah, but that's real. That's interesting. That's a pattern.
Wait a minute. Mount Hermon in the Middle East?
No, in Greece. In Greece, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, yeah, in the Middle East. Well, there's Mount Hermon. There's a lot of Mount Hermons, actually, you know. But no, I think this one is in Greece, or maybe it's a different mountain. But he has a monastery out there, Elder Paisos, and so he was able to take him away from it. But that's a real thing where people, part of the Kali worship is this possession experience. It must be. So that's interesting to me. So, wow, Ken, I wish I could talk to you all night. We're kind of out of time a little bit. We went over a little bit. Thank you so much for your time. You got to come back on the show, man. Anything you want to leave us off with?
No, I knew we would go over because you know that of which you speak, and I knew that you'd be able to engage in some of these crazy things I get myself into.
Hey, you know what? It's good. It's that's what we're here for. You know, I mean, it's good to know you're not alone, and so it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. I think the audience is going to love this because this is right up our alley. And you'll have to come on sometime with my young friend John Evans, who I'm sure will very much enjoy this talk, and he could engage you with a lot of different topics and stuff like that. So I look forward to that, man. And tell everybody where they can find your website, your books, and how to support you, and all that good stuff.
Well, I appreciate the offer. My website is all one word, True Free Thinker.
True Free Thinker, all one word. Okay.
True Free Thinker, and basically, right from the homepage, I link to anything you might be interested in, my YouTube channel, my books, everything's there, so I made it really simple.
Yep. It's a great website. Yep. It's very professional. Yep. Very well done there. And so all your books are there, all the information's there. Ken has a YouTube channel as well. And like I said, John did do a review of his book, John Erasmus. John Evans might be joining us next time. And go out and support work like this. This is, in this day and age, we need logic, we need reason to make a critical thinking, to make a comeback, because, information is so instant and gratifying, and that's just leading us to hell, basically, So luckily we have people like Ken, and to remind us of the simple truth, and the courageous things that he's done and the great work. 20 books, that's amazing. I mean, that's quite an accomplishment, and that's a lot of reading. And to take up that practice, I understand. It's a spiritual practice of living scholarship and a respect for the written word and the logos, and being part of it, but humble about it at the same time. And so, thank you so much, Ken. I'm going to stop